Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. It's so lovely to see you all. So nice to have you all here. We're going to be doing a practice for the liver today. So working on detoxification. I thought it'd be a really nice one to help us move through. Hina, I think I can still hear you. There we go. Okay, perfect. So the liver is a really nice one to work with in spring. It's just a time for allowing us to get rid and shed of anything that's holding us back, that's weighing us down, that's not providing us with a strong basis to move forward into the next chapter, which is summer, so a time of blooming, and also spring is a time of renewal and regeneration. So practicing the liver sequence is a really nice way to help strengthen that element within ourselves and that regeneration, bringing that element of renewal and shedding, detoxification in the body. And it just allows our liver a little bit of extra support as well in that process. So we're going to be working mainly around the outer hips and a little bit into the groin, a little bit in the front of the hips as well. And we're just focusing on this practice in as many ways as we can of allowing ourselves to really let go and to find as much surrender into each of the shapes. So we're constantly bringing ourselves back to that process of detoxing, of letting go of emotions, of letting go of anything that's stagnant or stuck or restricted, and just allowing ourselves to slowly peel back what's inside, what we're holding on to, anything that's not pulling us towards our higher purpose, our higher self, and giving us that space, that freedom to move forward into a higher plane of existence, of consciousness, when we aren't holding on to this extra baggage. So that's what we're focusing on for today, and that's the goal for the end of the session. We're going to start in a butterfly, so we can make our way onto a seat. If you just move any bricks, props out of the way, and we can come to just take the seat back into the middle of your mat, and then you want to take a nice big diamond shape with the legs. If you feel a little bit like you need some extra support or propping, you can grab your blanket and just bring the blanket underneath the seat, so you've got a little bit of a ledge to tilt forward into. And if you wanted to add a bit more extra support for the knees or legs, you can also work to bring a bolster or a pillow, some cushions under the knees. That's a really nice one, especially if you've got any tightness in the hips and groin. Just to add a bit more support allows the body to let go more softly and kindly. But if you feel quite okay to work a little bit deeper, you can also start to bring the feet a bit closer in towards your sit bones. So as we do that, it starts to just put a bit more pressure into that external rotation. You can also add a brick if you wanted to add a little bit of support there. And then to just increase the stretch, we can fold into it. So find a nice tall spine to begin with. Try to really open up the chest, open up the vertebra, and find a nice deep breath down into the belly. Just inhaling. And as we exhale, then we can start to come a little bit closer towards the legs. Maybe it's just bringing your hands down to the floor. Maybe it's resting your elbows onto your knees. Or maybe it feels nice to start to let your head roll forward and drop down deeper into the shape. So this is just going to add a little bit more of a stretch to the spine, a bit more of a deeper compression into the groin and the hips. And we're also working into compression of the liver. So the liver sits on the right side of the rib cage, just underneath where the ribs start to split on the right side. So we're working into this point of the body. And just starting to close down through the eyes. Making any final adjustments. And then resolving to find stillness in your shape. So in Yin, we want to come to that still point, meeting the edge of our body where we find a little bit of resistance. tensegrity in the stretch. Moving into the edges of our body, we start to bring a little bit of challenge in. And when we meet that challenge, we meet a resistance, and we allow ourselves to really see what comes up when we face a challenge. And these are the parts where we can really observe and see what our natural responses are and how we respond to different circumstances, stimulus, and situations. So just allow yourself to sit back into the witness, into the observer. And we're going to be here for 5 minutes, so we're just here for another 4 minutes or so. Allowing your breath to be your anchor. So anytime the stretch or the shape is a little bit too intense, you can always back out, come to a lesser edge. Or maybe it might feel that you can go a little bit deeper. So after a few rounds of breathing, a couple of minutes or so, we can maybe move into our second edge, meeting a new set of challenges in our physical body, and then maybe the mental, emotional body, we find some different responses. So as you find a deeper connection with the inner world, you start to draw your senses more inward, just paying attention to what is arising for you. And it could be just a physical sensation. Maybe behind that physical sensation is an emotion or a memory. Maybe it's something that's stored that you weren't aware of until you met this shape. And as we move through these challenges, we can start to really hold space for ourselves to pause and breathe and accept and surrender. And whatever we're doing on our mat, whatever we're experiencing here on our mat is no doubt going to arise in our everyday circumstances and situations. We're put into different pressurized moments, challenges, and it allows us to take that pause, to take that power back into our breath, and to just hold space for ourselves. And whatever we do to the physical body now in our practice on our mats, we can then start to feel that integrated into our lives, and we can become more empowered in our responses rather than operating from the reactional mind, from a quick reaction. We're just coming up to just over halfway. So if it feels like you want to come out a little bit, please feel free to regress the shape, or you can always lie down onto your back. And if you feel that you can increase the stretch, maybe you'd like to go a little bit deeper into the shape. So we're working into the liver and the gallbladder meridian lines. The gallbladder runs along the outside edge of the leg and the outer hip. From there, they zigzag their way up the front and sides of the ribs to the shoulders and the face. And the liver line comes along the inside of the ankle, along the inside of the leg, and through the groin before going inside the body towards the liver. Just last minute left. So our yin element here is the liver. And yin organs are solid, and the main function is to store our energies and fluids. And the yang organ pair, yang organs are hollow, and their function is to transform and transmit energies and fluids. And that's our gallbladder. So in the Taoist tradition, everything in life requires the association of yin and yang for balance, which is why we have organ meridian pairs. You can take your last round of breath here and slowly just start to transition up to a seated position. You can use your hands on your knees to gently hug the knees up together, and you can walk the feet slightly back and bring the knees into the chest. Just hug yourself into a small ball here. Allow yourself to come back into balance. Just noticing how the body feels as you come out of the shape. And we're watching for any shifts or transformations, any changes in energy or sensations in the physical body. And again, always using the breath in a way that feels really beneficial for your body in the moment. So from here, we're going to make our way onto all fours. If you need any padding for the knees, you might want to bring a blanket rolled up just underneath the knees. And we're going to take our right foot forward to step into a low lunge. So you can bring the hands either side of your front foot and just take your right foot forward, setting up with your back knee rested, maybe onto a blanket, or if you want a bit of extra support for your back leg, you might like to take a cushion or a bolster. That just gives the pelvis a little bit more support. So we're working to stretch and compress into the outer hip here, compress the groin on the right side, and the left hip and groin we're working to stretch and open. So you can work with hands onto the floor, or maybe fingertips to the floor, or maybe your hands might want to come to a brick. Or if it feels more beneficial for you to lift, you can also start to lift up and away. So we're working the back leg a little bit more and not as deeper compression on your right hip. So find whichever position feels good for you today, and we're going to pause here just for 1.5 minutes on this side. Trying to get as much extension through the spine as we can. So really allowing a nice opening into the spinal column, and also working to expand into the abdomen. So we get a nice bit of stretch and opening into the liver. If your belly is rested onto your right thigh, then you're going to get a nice compression into the liver also. Just pausing here and tuning back inward. So noticing how the different shape brings different challenges, different sensations in the body. And just quietening down through the mind, through the thoughts. And just watching what is arising for you in this moment. Trying to stay as still and calm, steady and stable. A smooth and balanced breath. And the more we can come into this still point in our body, this still smoothness with our breath, the more we can bring that quality into the mind, and we can really start to have a lot of clarity. Many answers and wisdom comes through from our higher self as we connect into our source when we find this still point. So we're going to add on to the twist, to the lunge with a twist. So if it feels good for you to bring your hands to your heart space, you can lift up and away from your front leg with an inhale, bringing hands to prayer. And as you exhale, we're going to twist and turn and then hook the left elbow onto the edge of the right thigh. Trying to keep the hands in line with the chest as much as you can. And we're turning right from the navel, from the breastbone, keeping a nice strong front foot and just turning to as far as you can. If that's not comfortable for you today, then just go into wherever feels good. We're just here for another minute and a half. So as we twist on this left side, we're allowing a nice wringing out of the liver organ itself. And we're working to deeply compress on this side. Trying to send the breath into the abdomen. This will help blood flow to move into this organ. Last 30 seconds. Just taking the last 2 rounds of breath here. And on your next inhale, slowly lifting up and turning back to center. You can bring your hands down to the floor. Just shift your back knee in slightly. You can either step back or move the foot round to the side and then bring your knee back round. And we're stepping back into down dog just to reset. So lifting the hips up and back, keep a little bend into the knees. We're working to stretch the spine so the knees can stay as bent as they need to. Draw the navel back toward the spine, try to get the shoulders away from the ears, keeping chin gently tucked to chest, and lengthen skull down toward the floor, lifting the tailbone up nice and high. If that's too much, you can always pause in all fours, just taking a few moments here. If it feels nice to add any movements, maybe you'd like to pedal the legs, pedal the feet. Taking 2 more rounds of breath here. With your next inhale, we can slowly bring the knees back down to the floor, coming into all fours. And with your exhale, we're stepping the left foot forward this time. So finding any shape that felt good for you on this side, whether it was using bricks or hands to the floor, palms flat or fingertips, or maybe this side feels a little bit more comfortable for you to lift up. Again, working to lengthen the spine, try to get as much space in the abdomen, in the groin, and we're sending the breath down into the belly again. Just here for a minute and a half. Coming back into the body, tuning out outward distractions, and noticing any differences on this side. Resolving to find stillness in the body, stability in the breath, and stillness in the mind. Just here for 2 more rounds of breath. And then we can move on to add into the twist. So with your next inhale, if you've not lifted already, you can lift up, bring your hands to prayer at the heart space. And as you exhale, you're going to twist to the left, hook the right elbow to the outside edge of the left thigh, and then turn through the abdomen, turn from the navel, and twist through the breastbone. So you're trying to really wring out through the abdomen. So now we're really opening and turning away from the liver. So we're going to get a nice bit of space into the liver this side. Keep the breath into the abdomen for this one. Just helps to bring more blood flow into the internal organs. Notice any differences on this side. Find a steadiness to the breath. Well done, we're just taking the last 2 rounds of breath here. And then with your next inhale, you can de-rotate, come back to center. As you exhale, bring your hands down. You can either step back to down dog from here, or you can bring the knee back, come to all fours, and then on your next inhale, lift up into your down dog. Again, take a little bend into the knees, try to lift the tailbone up as high as you can, let the skull pull towards the floor, relaxing the shoulders down the back, core is nice and strong, navel pulls back to the spine, pushing away from the fingertips, feel strength and length through your spine. This last round of breath. And then we can make our way down towards the mat. We're going to come flat onto our stomach. So you can bring the knees down, or you can come through plank and then flat to the mat. So moving into Sphinx, we're going to start to activate the kidneys, which help the liver. We're just starting to prep yourself up onto your forearms. You can take your elbows a little bit further forward than your shoulders, so you've got a bit of space. This just stops the back bend from being so intense. And if you have your feet more towards the corners of your mat, more in a V shape with your legs, that will just release the intensity of the back bend. If the legs are more parallel, this is going to create a little bit more of a stronger back bend. And if it feels a little bit too strong, you can also take your elbows further away from you and just hold on to the biceps. Closer the elbows are into the body, the more of an extension, flexion in the spine. So just pausing here, we're going to move through Sphinx and then come into Seal. So if it feels good for you to move into Seal, I'll let you know when we're halfway through, then you can add on to that and I'll demonstrate where you're going. So we want to really keep the heart space open. We're allowing the belly to stay full with the breath. And also this is going to start to really massage the internal organs as the breath floods into the belly. And where we're compressing into the back of the body, into the kidneys, which are just at the bottom of the floating ribs, mid-back. This starts to activate our Jing essence, which helps with the support of the liver and it helps the detoxification process. So we want to bring a little bit of kidney stimulation in, just to support that. If it feels nice, you can close down through the eyes and really draw your attention inward. Feeling the opening on the front line of the body. Maybe even feeling the crown of the head pulling gently up toward the ceiling and a very gentle tuck of the chin toward the chest. This is not necessary, but if you wanted to increase the stretch, you can come into seal pose. This is just going to bring a little bit more of an opening into the front line of the body. If you do, you can take your elbows out to the side, just let your body come slowly down. Take your hands off of the mat, turn the fingers out to the side, and we want to tuck the elbows in as we push up and away from the arms, coming into straight arms. And we're lifting the upper body a little bit higher off of the mat. Try to keep the shoulders gliding down the back. Keep the glutes and the legs relaxed. The lower back is relaxed. If you feel any pinching, then just stay in your Sphinx pose. It's perfect where you are. And then maybe you might find a little bit more breath into the abdomen if you're in your seal. We're just here for another 2 minutes. Nice, so just coming for our last 30 seconds. Just taking another 3 rounds of breath here. Nice, on your next exhale, wherever you are, you can let yourself slowly release down. Bring your hands just beside your chest. Rest your forehead to the floor. And we can slowly start to bring the knees a little bit closer towards each other. Relax the feet back. On an inhale, we're going to press into the hands and knees. Come all the way up into all fours and push yourself back, extending through the arms to come into child's pose. Just taking a pause in child's, resting here. If the compression of the legs to the belly is a little bit too much, you can take your knees out to the side and let your abdomen, your chest come through. Breathing into the belly. We're here for just a minute. Nice. On your next inhale, we can slowly bring ourselves back up to all fours. And we're going to make our way onto a seated position. We can take the legs out in front of us. So I'm going to mirror you. So if you just take the legs out in front, you might want to sit on a blanket just to give your hips a little bit more height, potentially. If you feel that you're rounding through the spine, this is a nice amount of lift just to give your seat a little bit of height. So you can take the legs out in front of us. We're going to take shoelace from here. So you can either work in a figure 4 shape, or you can work a little bit more strongly with the legs crossed. And also if you want to work deeper, we can take both legs across. So we're working the outer edges of the hip in this one. So I'll mirror what you're doing. We're going to bring the right leg into the body, and we can just start to take a little bit of a swing through the hip. So we're getting a bit of movement into the outer hip. And then once you feel that you've got enough movement, you can take the knee all the way across. If that already feels uncomfortable, then just come into a figure 4 shape and use any prop in underneath that knee if it's really lifted, like mine is there. If not, we can take the knee across. And then if you wanted to increase it, so we're working both sides of the hips, you can take the underneath leg round. You want to lift the hips up, realign, so both sit bones are coming down towards the floor. And then we want to just gently press into the feet, squeeze the thighs together, and we're going to come up through a tall spine. So find whichever position feels comfortable for you today, and then we can pause here. You can either work to take the hands back if that's nice, to open up the chest, breathing into the abdomen. Or if you want to compress into the liver, we can start to fold forward. Maybe bringing the hands down to the floor, or you can hold on to the thighs. Maybe even making a pillow with the hands on the knees might feel comfortable. Just finding whichever position feels good for you to pause into. We're here for another 2 minutes each side, so just let yourself sit into the shape, settle down into the shape. So the Taoists believe that healthy liver qi is extremely central to our overall well-being, and this is because liver qi is it coordinates and regulates the movement of qi everywhere within us, and it also houses the seats of the soul, houses our consciousness, and gives us our sense of purpose. It's also related to the element of wood. So it's that finding stability and flexibility, feeling rooted in who we are, where we are, and what we're doing, rooted like a tree, that element of wood. So sometimes when we can find that there's any emotional imbalances, this can be a sign that there's an imbalance of chi moving through the body. Chi is the life force, the energy giver, the prana of our body, what gives everything animation and life. Chi imbalances of the liver can be seen as any form of eye conditions, cramping in the muscles, or muscle weakness or stiffness. It can be seen as paralysis, arthritis, insomnia. It can also come through as acne or vertigo or dizziness. And emotionally, it can be seen as feeling off center or a sense of irritability, explosiveness or anger. Also seen in an inability to express anger and a defensiveness. Well done. This one's quite intense on the hip, so we'll come out slowly of this one. On your next inhale, you can start to gently lift up. If you've taken both legs out, just lean back into the hands. Take the underneath leg out first, and then you can take the top leg off. Just take the legs out. We can take a rebound in between, so bringing the feet flat to the mat. And just take some sways of the knees side to side. So it's quite interesting as we move through each shape what it brings up. When I first started to do yoga, I noticed how much hip work brought up a lot of anger. It used to actually make my body sweat a lot as well. So it's interesting to see what the body holds in different areas and pockets. It gives us a good clue to maybe what's out of balance. Nice, we can come on to the other side now. So we want to bring, again, the left leg up into the body. You can hold around the foot and the knee and just give it a little swing side to side. And then once it feels good enough to move over a little bit deeper, you can start to take the knee to stack onto the other knee. If that's okay as you ask, that's perfect, you can stay there. Or if you want to increase the stretch, you can start to lean onto your opposite hip and bring the foot underneath you. So this is more in a line. You want to bring the feet kind of equal. And again, you can always come to just take figure 4 shape with the leg and support that knee if this is a little bit too much. And then you can push into the feet, just realign the hips, make sure you feel nice and grounded through both sit bones. Use any props you might need. And then you can either lean back and just find a nice stretch here. Or if you want to again compress, you can start to lean forward. And allow the belly to relax onto that thigh. Again, we're here for 2 minutes more. So Yin Yoga and practicing yoga is so crucial in helping us to stay regulated and balanced. It gives us a space just to witness, to see, to tune in and check in with what's going on and how we're feeling. It gives us a space to really regulate ourselves. So if you're going through emotionally challenging period, it's really nice to build up a practice that's balancing for what you're going through, for what you need. If you're feeling angry or frustrated, then working the liver is perfect. If you're feeling fearful or stuck in a sort of pain body, then we can move into the kidneys. If you're feeling worry, excessive anxiety, you can then start to work to balance the spleen. And when we really see what different meridian lines and different systems are geared up to function and how they work, we can start to take back our power and really find and carve out a path that works for us to constantly keep ourselves in check, constantly keep ourselves in balance. And this is the purpose of why we practice, to find that stability, to find that stableness, to feel that stillness and that calm sense of ease within our physical body, within our minds, within our breath. And then it allows us to really come into that deep connection of our purpose here, of our highest expression. It connects us back in with our source, overseeing that everything is just playing out exactly as it should. And it allows us to step back from the smallness of our minds. Sometimes we find that we're looking way too deep into things and we're looking at the finite, the small, when we really are infinite. We are pure source in human form, just for a small while. We're just here for 2 more breaths. You're doing really well. Just finding your last round of breath here. And then we can slowly start to pad ourselves back up so we're lifted, lean back into the hands, lift up the chest, lift up the underneath leg first. And then we can take the top leg off. And again, you can either take the feet and roll the feet in and out, or take feet flat on the mat and just take some sways through the knees. Just allow yourself to come back into a balance. Feel the energy flowing through the legs again. Nice, and then when you're ready, just come into a still point. We're going to practice again a little bit more through the hips before we come down to relax. So we're working into square pose or easy pose. If it's a little bit strong for you to take square pose, which will be, you want the front shin and the top shin parallel. So they're sitting on top of each other. If that's too strong for your hips, because it is quite a strong pose, then we can just take easy pose, just taking that leg in front. And if it's too much again to sit here, you can grab a brick or your bolster and just sit onto the brick so your hips are a little bit lifted, and then that gives a nice bit of space into the hips and groin. Find whichever position feels good for you. So you're either taking stacked legs, and we want to try and get the feet to flex. And then if you feel that you're really lifted up here, just take easy pose, so cross-legged. Or you can take a blanket, something to prop yourself. The more support you have to press down into, the more we can start to really open. And then we can either work to just lean forward, maybe bring the fingertips to the floor. If that's too much, you can always lean back. Or you can start to stack your forearms and rest down. Adjust here for 2 minutes each side. Try to really relax the jaw, relax the neck, the shoulders, relax the sides of the hips. This is a strong stretch for the groin and for the outer hip. Now you have the last 30 seconds. So a nice way to balance liver chi is to diminish acting out in a harsh way. So when we start to really bring loving kindness into our minds, into our actions, our thoughts, our ways of behaving with ourselves, we can really start to balance out the emotions in the liver. Finding compassion and harmony. Also crying, allowing yourself to detox through the tears, letting go, releasing. A nice way to balance through foods is sour foods, turmeric, ginger. Well done. Last breath here. And then we can slowly start to lift up. You can grab hold of the knee, the foot, and gently lift out to the side. Plant the foot down. Take a moment in between. Maybe hug the knees in. And then we can go on to the other side. So either square pose, stacking the legs, or you can take easy pose. And we want to try to get as much balance in the body. So if one side feels you need a bit of extra propping or support, grab anything that's going to help you. Try to flex the feet in both positions. And then we can either stay lifted, or you can bring the fingertips to the floor, or you can fold forward with your elbows resting. Just another minute and a half to go. Last 30 seconds. And we can take our last round of breath here. On your next inhale, slowly start to lift yourself back up out of the shape. We can take hold of the foot, the knee, and gently bring the feet down to the floor. We can hug the knees into the chest. And then when you're ready, you can make your way down to Shibasana. So just moving any props out to the side. You might want to bring a bolster underneath the back of the legs. You might want to bring a pillow underneath the back of the head. Just finding anything that allows you to really relax and find a good stillness. Nice. When you've come down, just finding as much space through the spine so you can bring your feet to the floor, knees bent. Just tuck the tailbone slightly under and lengthen up into the crown of the head. Wiggle up through the rib cage and find as much space in the back of the waist. And then you can, if it feels good, take the legs out long. If it feels more comfortable, you can always keep your feet flat to the mat. And just prop yourself up with anything that you might need. Just taking up as much space through the arms, through the legs. Feel the shoulders spreading down and wide. And just start to allow yourself to close down through the eyes if they aren't already. So once you send the breath into the abdomen, abdominal breathing for the last minute or so, to really help the body to detox any final residue from your practice. And this could be through physical toxicity, mental or emotional toxicity. Really letting go on your exhales. So gradually starting to bring your awareness back into the body. Taking some deeper breaths in. And you can start to wiggle the fingers, toes, turn the head side to side, just stretching out through the body, through the arms, the legs. And when you're ready, just turning onto your side, whichever side, take a moment to really pause, come back into motion. And then when you're ready on your next inhale, just making your way up to a seat. We're going to finish with a meditation. So get yourself into a comfortable seated position. Try to elevate your hips up with a brick or some cushions. Just keeping your movements nice and slow. No need to rush at all. And then when you're ready, coming back into a closed eyes position, seated, tall, spine, open heart space. And really finding that connection of your sit bones into the earth, feeling rooted and grounded. So we're going to move into a meditation to really help to detoxify the body on a mental level, an emotional level. So just start to bring your awareness up into the brain. Bring the awareness into the brain. And taking your mind's eye into the mid-brain, in between, in level with the eyebrows, the mid-brain. And just pausing here. And we're going to gather all feelings, emotions, experiences, anything within the body that's wanting to detoxify. So we're gathering all of these thoughts, feelings, emotions into the midbrain. And on our inhale, we're going to send all of this gathered energy down through the spine, down into the base of the spine. And as we come to the base of the spine, hold the breath, lift into the pelvic floor, lift through Mula Bandha. Gentle gathering up through the pelvic floor muscles. Feel the energy gathering here. And as you exhale, release the pelvic floor, release Mula Bandha, and allow all of these thoughts, emotions, feelings to leave out through the seat, through the root, into the earth. And again, bring your attention back up to the third eye, the midbrain, in line with the eyebrows, gathering all thoughts, experiences, emotions, any toxicity in the body to be detoxified. And as we inhale again, pull all of this energy down through the spine into the root. Pause at the root, holding the breath in. Feel this bubbling up, this energy gathering here at the root. And as you exhale, release the Mula Bandha, release the pelvic floor, release all of that energy out and down into Mother Earth to be transformed, transmuted. Again, bring the intention, awareness up to the midbrain, gathering, collecting, sorting and organizing. And as we inhale, take the breath all the way down to the root. Pausing, lifting the pelvic floor muscles, gently engaging, gathering all of the muscles in the pelvic floor, holding until it feels like it's bubbling up, and then you can exhale, release, let go, pelvic floor, let go of anything wanting to release and be detoxified. Just keep moving through this cycle in your own time, with your own rhythm, your own breath. Gathering as much as you can and want to let go, to be released. Allowing yourself to be purified on all levels. and allowing Mother Earth to take anything that's not serving you to be regenerated, to be composted and reused, turning it into something beautiful for you to receive in another way. And notice your body becoming lighter. Notice your body becoming purified and cleansed. We're just taking one more cycle through in your own time, no need to rush at all. And with your last round of breath on that exhale, we can just release the focus of the meditation and just come back to a regular breath. Take a moment to tune in to your body, noticing how you're feeling. And then with your next inhale, bringing your hands into Anjali Mudra prayer, resting the thumbs onto your heart space. Take an inhale, lengthen the spine, open the heart. And as you exhale, bow down to yourself, offering gratitude to yourself for committing to practice, to committing to the development of yourself, and offering gratitude to the practices of yoga and the teachers before us. May all beings be happy, peaceful, and free. Namaste. Thank you so much, everyone.